Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, November 20th. A warming trend began yesterday in the Mid-Atlantic region. It looks like it'll continue today, and we'll have high temperatures this afternoon at or slightly above the 60-degree mark in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, some 10 degrees warmer than it was on Thursday afternoon. And those mild conditions will continue into the weekend. Saturday also looks like a day with high temperatures at or slightly above 60 degrees in that D.C. to New York City corridor. We do get colder, however, for Sunday. A cold frontal system passes through on Saturday night. It'll probably knock off 5 or 10 degrees for Sunday afternoon highs in the Mid-Atlantic region, probably closer to 50 degrees places like Philadelphia as compared to 60 degrees on Saturday. There's a chance for some shower activity, maybe even some rain as we look ahead to Thanksgiving Day next Thursday. We'll kind of take a sneak peek at that. First, let's start off by looking at the tropical activity around the northern hemisphere. Nothing going on right now in the Atlantic basin. Of course, it's been a very, very active year, a record-breaking year in terms of the number of named storms. We've reached 30 this year. That has beat the year of 2005 when we had 28 named storms, but nothing going on right now. Doesn't look like anything will go on for the next few days. Whether we're completely done for the season or not, a little too early to say. Let's take a look also at the Pacific Ocean. And here we are in the Eastern Pacific. Nothing at all going on there. And the Central Pacific. Nothing going on out there. So it's finally a completely quiet scene in terms of the tropics in the northern hemisphere. How have we done for the entire season so far? Let's take a look at the accumulated cyclone energy. And we've shown these numbers before. Accumulated cyclone energy is probably the best way to monitor overall tropical activity. It takes into account not only the strength of a storm, the intensity level, but also the duration, how long it lasts. So a long-lasting major hurricane, for example, could have a big impact on accumulated cyclone energy. A storm that only survives for a couple of days as a tropical storm as opposed to a hurricane will not have much impact on accumulated cyclone energy. So the Atlantic basin has had an above normal year. And what we're looking at is this column right here, and this top row here is for the Atlantic Ocean. The number in parentheses is the average for the period 1981 to 2010. So we're kind of comparing to that. Way above normal in the Atlantic basin for accumulated cyclone energy. However, if you take a look at the Pacific Ocean, and the Pacific is such a large ocean, the most important ocean in terms of tropical activity around the world. In fact, about 3/4 of the tropical cyclones form in the Pacific Ocean. So what goes on in the Pacific Ocean really plays the most important role for the northern hemisphere as a whole. And it's so big, we split it up into two categories: the Northeast Pacific, and notice, well below normal. The Northwest Pacific, well below normal. And that really has an influence on the northern hemisphere as a whole. A below normal year for the northern hemisphere, 424 in terms of ACE, accumulated cyclone energy, as compared with the normal for that 1981 to 2010 period of 522.1. So a below normal year in terms of overall tropical activity for the northern hemisphere as a whole. Well above normal in the Atlantic, but way below normal in the even more important region of the Pacific, both the Northeast and the Northwest Pacific Ocean. Well, let's take a look at sea surface temperatures around the world. We haven't looked at this in a while here, and the main thing that pops out right away is this large blue area in the Pacific Ocean region, specifically the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean. This is all below normal sea surface temperatures off the west coast of South America and right across the equator. This is the equator right here, this particular part of this kind of a plot. This is La Nina, colder than normal sea surface temperatures. It looks like it will last right through the upcoming winter season and have an impact. And if you want to see what kind of impact we think it'll have on the winter, go to our winter outlook Right there, you'll find it on the home page of the Prospective Weather website. This also influenced the tropical season, the just ended tropical season. Colder than normal sea surface temperatures was an inhibiting factor out in the Pacific Ocean, especially when you get close to this region of below normal temperatures, like the eastern part of the Pacific, for example. So La Nina inhibited tropical activity in the Pacific Ocean, and part of the reason why we had a well below normal year in the Pacific. But when you have a La Nina out in the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean, it actually is a favorable signal for activity in the Atlantic, because it usually leads to reduced wind shear in the tropical Atlantic, which in turn favors tropical activity. And indeed, we had a very active season in the Atlantic Ocean. So La Nina not only played a part in the tropical season, but it'll play a major role in the upcoming winter season. We're also monitoring closely this warm patch of water here in the northeastern Pacific Ocean. We'll see if that extends all the way up to the southern coast of Alaska. That's been kind of the pattern for much of the last decade in the wintertime. Much warmer than normal sea surface temperatures tucked away here south of Alaska, and that can have an influence on if a high pressure ridge develops along the west coast of Canada and the U.S., which in turn can have an influence on where cold air masses go. And we talk a lot about that in the winter outlook on PerspectiveWeather.com. Well, let's walk through the surface forecast maps of last night's operational run of the GFS at 6C. High pressure's off the coast right now. That shifted off the coast, allowing for this warming trend in the eastern U.S. The black lines here represent lines of equal pressure, isobars. They also represent, give a good signal as to the wind flow, because winds tend to blow parallel to these lines of equal pressure, clockwise around high pressure systems. In other words, a southerly flow and a southwesterly flow of air into the Ohio Valley, and that is promoting the warm-up. Yesterday really began in earnest in the Ohio Valley, and that will translate into the eastern U.S. today, again adding about 10 degrees from this afternoon compared to yesterday afternoon. And let's move forward here. That high pressure remains in control as we begin the weekend, but notice kind of a shift here. We have high pressure starting to form over the northern plains. That will end up kind of becoming the major factor here in the northeastern U.S. for Sunday, as compared with that high pressure off the mid-Atlantic coastline this morning. And this is a little cooler of an air mass here, and by Saturday night, a weak frontal system will come through. That high kind of tends to become the main player, and we may knock off 5 or 10 degrees between Sunday afternoon and Saturday afternoon. Maybe 50 degrees for a high in Philly, for example, as compared with 60 today and tomorrow. And here is a threat for some shower activity following that on Sunday night, as another frontal system moves on into the eastern U.S. Again, there could be some showers on Sunday night into Monday, and a cold enough air mass here for some decent snow by Monday morning up across the southeastern part of Canada, maybe even the extreme western part of New England by Monday morning. And that puts some colder air into the east. This is the forecast map for Tuesday. Quite a cold day coming on Tuesday, maybe highs holding in the 40s. High pressure to the north in control. Again, a chilly air mass moves into the northeast U.S., the mid-Atlantic region during the early part of next week. Then this is the area we'll watch for Thanksgiving in terms of in the eastern states. Come Tuesday of next week, there'll be quite a storm out in the middle part of the nation, with snow to the north side and rain and maybe thunderstorms to its south. That works its way across the nation, and indeed it gives us the possibility of some rain in the eastern U.S. Come Thanksgiving morning. This is kind of a sneak peek ahead to what we may expect. It should be rather mild by next Thursday in the eastern states, but possibility exists for some rain, at least for part of Thanksgiving Day, and we'll monitor that, of course, over the next few days. But very nice conditions for the next couple of days in the Mid-Atlantic region Friday and Saturday. Turns colder again on Sunday. That's it for now for PerspectiveWeather.com. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.